why another conference of this nature? Don't we have too many on climate change already? And they had some misgivings about what the focus of this engagement will be. So I shall try in the next couple of minutes to outline to you what we're hoping to achieve, Guyana and hopefully as a group, out of this engagement here today. First of all, we're not here to prove the science of climate change. That has already been proven and accepted. We're not here to debate the outcome or the impact of climate change, because most people in this room and across the world have been witnessing and experiencing this firsthand in a way that is of almost existential through various hurricanes, rising sea level, flooding, drought, and a whole host of other activities. So we're not here to prove that again. We also have some facts that are known to everyone on this field. First of all, that the Paris pledges, as welcome as they were never enough to achieve the outcome that we desire, which is a 2 degrees rise or even below 2 degrees rise in global temperature above pre-industrial level. So we know that too. And we also know that even before COVID, many countries were not on track to achieve those pledges, although they were inadequate to achieve the 2-degree target. So we're extremely worried that now, because of COVID-19, because of its widespread impact, some of which have been outlined by the Secretary General, millions of people have gone into absolute poverty. Millions, more hundreds of millions, are now facing starvation. Nearly 500 million people have lost their jobs. The impact of COVID the economic impact is probably going to exceed $100 trillion. And trillions have been spent on stimulus packages in many parts of the world. The fear is that this, because of the impact on the economy, that this will be used as an excuse to weaken ambition and weaken financing. And this happened before, in about a decade ago, when we had the global financial crisis. And with its devastating impact for many countries, which were less than COVID-19, many countries, particularly in the developed world, used that as an excuse not to raise ambition, nor to provide the adequate finances that or to meet the pledges that they had already made. So one of the primary purposes of this exercise is to say, notwithstanding the COVID-19 impact on our economies, given which, and we're hoping COVID-19 would have more of a short-term impact, at least in from its medical aspects, would have a longer-term impact in relation to the economy. But we're faced with an existential threat here that will not go away. If anything, it's getting worse. If you look at the science coming out, some of the warmest years are now, and with its impact on the ecology, etc. So we cannot lose sight of this. And this is a powerful group, the G77 and China, 134 countries. And if we are going to go next year to the COP in Glasgow, this engagement today is to say that we have to find some level of solidarity in this group if we want to achieve higher levels of ambition and dedicated and adequate financing to avert the excesses, to finance mitigation actions and adaptation actions. We can only do that through solidarity. Now, this group is made up of a disparate set of countries, from small island states to some very large countries. And each of us may have our own priorities, and often in climate change negotiations, sometimes we contradict each other. And if we can find an outcome that accommodates the concerns of all of these countries, then we can go to the COP with a great sense of solidarity for the centrality of what we're here for, ambition and financing. So Guyana's case, the president outlined how we have a national scale model on climate change for decarbonizing the entire economy and adapting to climate change, an entire national scale model. But we have recently become an oil producer. And by 2025, we'll be producing 500,000 barrels per day. Does this change our position now on climate change, carbon pricing, or the removal of subsidies from fuel? No, the answer is no. Although we would be an exporter of oil. So there are groups, the countries in this group that are major exporters of oil, etc. So we have to find a livable outcome, and that is why we're hoping an exchange today will take place with the concerns of the various groups coming forward. And as we move forward, a year from now, when we go to the next COP, and even before then, this group will work to build a sense of solidarity. Secondly, it will ensure that even now, that the climate organizations, where there are pools of resources like Jeff, etc., World Bank, other places, that are intermediating climate funds, they're just sitting for too long on these resources. There has to be a speeding up of these resources to be intermediated to the countries, particularly countries with limited capability. You've heard the problems of COVID and the huge debt burden and the need for greater liquidity and the lack of fiscal space in many of these countries, where they have to divert valuable funds to address medical issues. They badly need money now if they're going to deal with adaptation measures, etc. But many of them are still getting a couple $100,000 and dealing with readiness issues. We need financing at scale now. Not in the future, but now. And there are already pools of money where pledges have been made that we have to work as a group to unlock. And we probably will need the solidarity of the group and the bigger countries in this group to help us to do that. So that is also a very, very important point that we need to have. Thirdly, we need to use this period to plan for the future. Again, countries with limited capabilities, they have their planning mechanism, their ability to use in their development plans climate outcomes as one of the variables for a sustainable medium-term economic plan is lacking, that capability. And this group has to help each other, the different groups there. So I can go on, but I think already my time is up. And this was the idea of bringing the group together. G77, unfortunately we couldn't do it as a group because it takes a long time and you have to negotiate outcomes and everything else. But Guyana thought it important to bring our colleagues from across the G77 to have a document. It's not a negotiated outcome, but at least can reflect some of the country experiences and get our colleagues to share their ideas along those lines, not reproving the science, not going over the trodden ground, but ensuring that we have outcomes that will move the system along to achieving that 2 degrees rise or a 1.5 degree rise. And that means enhancing ambition and more financing for many of these countries. A lot of countries have great plans for decarbonizing the economy, but they are languishing because of lack of funding. And so how can we help to unlock funds? So this is, if we are defining what we are doing here today, we are hoping the presentations would go along those lines, helping us to move those issues forward. Thank you very much.